So the topic today is Teshuva for beginners and for parents. And I have to say that in the past, not so much now, but in the past, I've got quite a few emails from concerned parents whose children or whose child, let's say, came to Jerusalem as a tourist. It's a Jewish tourist to travel around Israel, backpacker, whatever. And suddenly they end up in yeshiva or at a religious, from Orthodox seminary for girls. So then they come home back to the States or wherever they used to live, or to Australia or to England. They come back home and they are religious. Suddenly they are religious, and the parents are Reform, conservative, whatever, but nothing but Orthodox. So I got quite a few emails from parents, especially from fathers, who said, my child got brainwashed in Jerusalem, and now I'm having a freak here at home, and I don't know how to react towards him, and he tells me what to do. So there is a very difficult issue, and I want to make a few podcasts about it. It's a very difficult issue. On the one side, you have your child, or you as a newly person doing Teshuva, you're on the one side. And on the other side, you have the parents. Jewish parents who are Reform Jews or conservative Jews, and who have never really been in touch with anything Orthodox, with anything Jewish religious. So it's a very difficult issue. And in my days, yeshivot here in Jerusalem, or seminaries, didn't really tell the person doing Teshuva, the person studying there, about how to react towards their non-religious or their secular parents or their secular friends or surrounding, whatever they had until now. And it's not an issue. It's not only an issue. It's not only a problem with people coming from abroad, Jews coming from abroad and turning religious in Israel, but it's also a big problem here in Israel for Israelis suddenly becoming religious. It's a very big problem, and you have to be very careful on both sides, especially on the Teshuva side, on the person doing Teshuva, how to react towards your previous environment, not really previous environment, but to your secular parents and acquaintances and family, and towards your secular friends. It's a very difficult issue. And I've had the experience that in Israeli seminaries for young women doing Teshuva, I once went to a lecture at an Israeli seminary, just to see how it is and to listen. And the rabbi started his lecture with asking, it was a Sunday afternoon, towards evening, late afternoon, and he started his lecture by asking the girls, what did he do on Shabbat? So they said, okay, I kept Shabbat and everything, but I was staying with my secular parents, and they turned on the TV and they turned on the light and everything. They just had their life, their secular life. And what I found quite strange, even a little rude, that these girls made fun of their parents. They really made fun of, and they were all laughing, including the rabbi. How, I wouldn't say stupid, but how, I don't know, how their parents reacted, and why they don't see the truth, so to speak. But whatever, you have, but today I'm only referring to people like tourists, Jewish tourists coming to Jerusalem and suddenly getting in touch with Orthodoxy, especially young Jews in their 20s, maybe 30s, mostly in their 20s, early 20s, who come here as backpackers. And they want to travel around the country, get to know Israel a little, maybe stay on a kibbutz or whatever, or work a little illegal. And they come here, especially to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a hot spot for this. And they suddenly get in touch or see Orthodox Jews they've maybe never really seen before. And it's not the way they grew up. So when people usually come to Jerusalem, as I said, I'm talking about young backpackers. So there is a place here in Jerusalem, and many parents in their emails refer to this. There's a place called, it's a hostel. It's almost free. It's very, very cheap to stay there overnight. It's extremely cheap. It's, I don't know, maybe $3, $4, $5, something like this. It's called a heritage house. And you have a heritage house for men and for women, but you can only stay there up to a certain age. I don't know the age. I think it's around 30, 32, something like this. So you can stay there as a Jew. And I have to say, today's heritage house is very different from the 90s when I used to stay at the heritage house. It's very, very different. There are different owners today. There are different people in charge. Even one, the male hostel, the man's hostel, has a different location and a different, I don't know, maybe agenda, something like this. You can call it whatever you like. And it's very different today than from when I stayed there. But their main agenda is to accept secular Jews, like to stay there at the hostel, and to offer certain activities, lectures, whatever, all kinds of activities. It's very cheap. It's very convenient for someone with on a low budget. But you have to be Jewish. You have to be Jewish in order to stay there. And their main agenda is to not to missionize you, but to show you your heritage, so to speak. It's called Heritage House. To show you certain things of your own, of Judaism. To show you some Judaism. And I do understand it, and I think it's a great idea. And so that you go to some lectures or whatever, you don't have to, but you go. But you see a different side of Judaism. You see the religious side of Judaism. And for many people, this is very fascinating because they've never been in touch with this. They grew up, as I said, Reform, and they've never been in touch with it. And suddenly they are in the middle of Orthodoxy, so to speak. And it can be very fascinating. And when you go to all these lectures, where different topics are taught, you suddenly find this so interesting. You want to learn more and more and more. And with me, it started like I really got addicted. I stayed there. I was actually looking, I stayed there first, and I was looking for an apartment. And then I stayed on and on because I was looking for a yeshiva. I got so attracted by these different kinds of lectures, topics. The mystical Hebrew alphabet, for instance, like Torah, the Parsha, the weekly Torah portion. And all these different topics you've never heard about before, and you've never even thought about that something like this exists, like the mystical Hebrew letters, that there is something mystical behind and everything. So you get drawn in. It's very easy. It has nothing to do with brainwashing, but it's something new. And suddenly you feel, I don't want to sound too exaggerated or something, but it's like suddenly you I know it sounds stupid maybe to some other people, but your soul suddenly connects to something. It's very hard to explain. It has nothing to do, as I said, with brainwashing. It's like you're suddenly happy and you found something in life and you found your roots, and it really drags you into something. And it's nothing bad. I mean, something bad would be if your children suddenly would use drugs or something, or become criminals. But this is actually nothing bad. And suddenly you are dragged in because there's a topic here, there's a topic there, there's a lecture here, a lecture there. It also has nothing to do with like losing your mind, because you're still a person, you can think. But you are so dragged into this, and suddenly you surround yourself with people also going to the lecture, or you're going to a seminary, or you're going to yeshiva. So you're surrounded by the same kind of people as you, and you are so fascinated. You are so, I don't know, uplifted. And you don't see that other people are not like this. They're not like you. They don't want to hear about it. They just want to have their ordinary life. And you, on the other hand, as a newly Teshuva person, you don't see why others don't see it, what you see. So you always, at the very beginning, you try to convince people because you just don't understand that others don't see it. And you think they must see it. There is no way. If you just talk to them and told them about this lecture and told them about certain topics or whatever, about Torah and what you've learned today, even a tiny little concept, they would be the same. They would be so fascinated. They would say, wow. And I'm talking from experience. I was the same. And today I regret it very much. Because once you grow into this and you get older, you're not like this anymore. But whatever. So you're very excited and everything. And you want to share and, oh, wow. And on the other hand, you also, because you learn halakha, you also want to be perfect. And this is a very dangerous subject I'm going to talk about separately. You want to be perfect. You want to do this, and you want to do that, and you want to keep this, and you want to keep that, and all the mitzvot, and all the halachot, and everything at once. This is a very big problem of Baalei Teshuva, that they want everything at once. You want everything at once, your body can do it, but your soul won't follow. I'm telling you this in advance. And this is a problem between body and soul. Your mind just can't follow that fast. And many people find themselves in big emotional, psychological trouble. So let's say you're studying here in Jerusalem for a while, for a year, and then you go home to the United States. And now the parents come into the picture. So you come home as, let's say, a frum person, and maybe you even wear a black hat. Definitely you're going to wear a kippah. You don't have to dress Haredi or whatever, but you're going to come home, you wear a kippah, and suddenly you find your parents who don't keep kosher, who don't keep Shabbat. So there's a problem for you. Of course, you cannot eat in the kitchen because the kitchen is not kosher. And there's probably no kosher food around in the kitchen. So you have to get your own food, prepare your own meals, your own dishes, whatever. But the hardest thing is now between your parents and you. Your parents see you as a new person who may have got brainwashed on his trip. So apparently you met the wrong people and they brainwashed you, they missionized you, they got you into something and you're not the same person anymore. And you, on the other hand, have to be very careful and very patient with your parents, not to tell them what to do. You cannot go home and tell your surrounding what to do. You can't say, you know what, I follow the Shulchan Aruch, and it says this and this and that. And we are now going according to the Shulchan Aruch. And you're going to go to your local rabbi and say, you know, I'm following the Shulchan Aruch. And try telling people in the community or whatever what to do, even in an Orthodox community. So the rabbi may tell you, you know what? I'm also following the Shulchan Aruch, but here we are going according to the Aruch HaShulchan. Then you are in trouble. So you have to be very careful not to drive people crazy. You can be religious, you can be frum, you can follow whatever you like, but you cannot demand the same from your surrounding when they are secular or even Orthodox, but in a different way Orthodox. As I said, Shulchan Aruch, Aruch HaShulchan. So you have to be very, very careful and not too excited and get into this and, you know, drive everybody nuts. This is a very big challenge for a new Baal Teshuva. So you also cannot tell your parents what to do, or maybe look down on them because they don't keep kosher, they don't keep Shabbat, they don't know others, they don't know anything else. So you cannot look down, you should never look down on anybody else who's not like you, so to speak. So you have to be very tolerant. And this takes some time to learn. And I think that yeshivot, the seminaries, should prepare their students to behave in such a way. The parents, on the other hand, I do not have the right advice because there is no real advice. It depends on the person. It depends on the family. But you should not see your children when they do tshuva. You should not see them as something, you shouldn't see it as something negative. If you don't want to lose them and they stick to it, some people don't even stick to that tshuva. They go home and they, after a few months, you know, they're back to their old ways. I've got in touch with quite a few of those people. Not everybody sticks to the tshuva all their life. But let's say your child is really serious and wants to have a religious life and wants to get married and have children and lead a religious life. So now you are Reform or conservative. Your challenge is to make peace, to find the right way between you and your child. You should not tell your child that it's wrong, that it's brainwashed, that it's stupid, that it's an extremist. You should not do this. You should understand the way of your child, the new way of your child. And I've met parents here in Jerusalem who came to visit their children, who came from the United States to visit their children here in Jerusalem in yeshivot. And to one mother I talked, and her daughter was here in a Haredi seminary. The mother was secular, like Reform. And her daughter then got married to another Baal Teshuva, and they became Hasidic. They live in, I think, in New York. I'm not sure. They both went back to the United States. I think they live in New York or maybe Boston or something. I don't know. But they became Hasidic. And the mother said to me, you know, I don't know how to talk to my daughter, or what should I say, or everything is so different now, and I'm not like this, you know, I'm just normal. But I said to her, you know, you made you're at least trying something. You are here, you are trying to understand something and to learn how your daughter now lives, your daughter's new life. And it's nothing bad. It would be bad if someone, as I said before, turned to drugs or anything, or to crime. But it's very hard for the Baal Teshuva, for the newly religious, and for the parents. And as a parent, if you do not want to lose your child, your duty is to somehow tolerate it and understand it. To learn something about Orthodox Judaism, your children can tell you. And not to go like, wow, they can't eat in my kitchen and they've eaten here before and now they don't want to eat my food. And, it's very hard. It's very hard. And there is no formula for you, because you have to see how your family reacts and how you react and how your child reacts. But your child, as I said, should be tolerant, and you should be tolerant. If your child is happy this way, I don't know. I find it better than intermarriage, for instance. At least your child has a Jewish family, Jewish children. It's better than marry a Gentile and, dumping all this Jewish heritage. It's much better. At least you have your Judaism continues, your heritage continues, your roots continue, and it's not being dumped into the garbage. So when you have a child here studying in Jerusalem, so maybe you should come and get to know the environment and learn something and try to understand. You can still make up your mind. You don't have to agree. No one is asking you now to become religious yourself. No one is doing this. But at least you should know why this is happening. And when you understand why this is happening and your child is happy with his new life, so I think you should make peace with yourself and also be happy that your child is happy. This is what I have to say. I don't have there is no perfect solution for you. It doesn't exist. You have to work on yourself and you have to get used to it. And, I know some Israelis and their children have done Teshuva. And one of them even lives in Mea Shearim, in the ultra-Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem, in one of the ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods in Jerusalem. Jerusalem has many of those neighborhoods, not only one. And the mother comes from Tel Aviv, and she wears pants and whatever, short sleeves, whatever. But when she comes to visit her daughter, who's also married to a Baal Teshuva, and they are now Haredi, and they have kids, and the kids are totally Haredi. So the mother comes, she puts on a skirt, and she respects the way her daughter lives, and she respects her grandchildren. So she brings some presents for her grandchildren, but she dresses in a modest way. And she's not forcing herself in with pants or anything. She says, this is my daughter, I love my daughter, I love my grandchildren, I want to be in touch. So when I go to them, I do respect their way to live. And I don't know, maybe you can learn something from that. So if you have any further questions, please let me know. I know it's a very difficult issue. There's a lot to talk about there. Wow, many different situations, but this is my advice, what I can tell you. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope I gave you some food for thought. Have a good day. And Chanukah Sameach, it's almost Chanukah.